You know, I think the surveys, some surveys that were released this morning show specifically in the battleground states it's starting to tighten. You're seeing McCain within striking distance.
Sure, but I meant on that specific issue of Bill Ayers. On the specific issue of Bill Ayers, it's worked against you, hasn't it? That's what the surveys seem to show.
Generally speaking, Bill Ayers is just a small aspect of a larger question is, can we trust Barack Obama to deal with major situations and major issues, and how much do we know Barack Obama? Do we know him? Is he someone we can trust? And these surveys come back and demonstrate that people still have an issue with that.
All right,
and a lot of these undecideds and persuadables do.
Well, I tell you what, the Obama campaign tells us that Joe Biden's about to go after John McCain. We need to know what the strategies are. Here's how we find out. Here's Joe Biden live right now.
I've known General Powell for over 20 years. Matter of fact, I talked with him about an hour ago. He has one simple message: Joe, win, win, win. Look, Barack Obama and I have valued Secretary Powell's advice for some time, and his support is genuinely meaningful. I hope it finally puts to rest, and I think it's already put to rest, anybody wonders whether or not Barack Obama can be Commander-in-Chief for the United States military, just as Colin Powell. Folks, I want to remind you, things are feeling awful good right now, but I want to remind you, polls and endorsements do not determine the outcome of an election. Votes do. Votes determine. And here in Colorado, early voting lasts through October the 31st. So, folks, if you want to mail in your vote, you can request a mail-in ballot until the 28th. All of the voting information, you need is available on www.voteforchange.com.
We won't interrupt him for the meat of his discussion, but Marianne Marsh, why is this early voting so important?
Well, it's everything, Shep. You have to assume that all these polls are much closer than they appear. And as Major Garrett said in the earlier segment, any vote you can get before Election Day is a vote in the bank. You can count those. So you can go into Election Day, know exactly how many votes you have, and then based on models, know exactly how many votes you have to get on Election Day. The big thing here, Shep, that you've got to keep in mind is a good field organization is worth 3 to 5 points on Election Day. You can find 3 to 5 points on the ground on Election Day. So if these polls are close, then that's exactly what's going to determine this race. And you have to say, in that respect, Barack Obama should have the advantage.
Tyler, field organizations, how do they stack up?
You know, the Republicans have the 72-hour program, which has been proven time and time again to be extremely effective on the ground. Now, the Democrats have, over a period of time, developed a number of programs that can really compete with that. But still, I got to put my money behind the Republicans. The 72-hour program is going into its 10th year. I think the 10th year of this program overall, and it really pulls out, like Marianne said, a lot of these ground organizations can pull out 3 to 5 points. I've seen scenarios where the 72-hour program led by the Republicans pull out 5 to 7 points. And I think we could be seeing that, especially with a lot of new registrants on the ground.
Joe Biden's talking economy now. Listen.
What about our savings? We'll be able to send our kid back to college next semester. There are conversations going on with real people all around Colorado, all around America. And ladies and gentlemen, too many people today, the American dream, for too many, the American dream is becoming a distant dream. Folks, in the most recent debate, John McCain felt the need to declare that he was not President Bush. We know that old expression. You ever heard it? Have you ever heard it? He doth protest too much. Folks, and move this faster. Folks, over the course of the 3 debates, 20 months into the campaign, and 8 years of failed economic policies, there's not one fundamental economic issue on which John McCain has challenged George Bush or his policies. We talk about how he's voted differently on certain things, but on the essential, credible things, he has not challenged George Bush once. He voted for 4 out of 5 Bush's budgets. He bragged about voting with President Bush 90% of the time. And remember, remember, he won his party's nomination. How did he do it? By telling the Republicans and the American people that there was no stronger supporter of George W. Bush than John McCain. So, ladies and gentlemen, he may not.
You know, Marianne, it just feels like the same talking point for weeks on end.
It is, but at this point, Shep, you're only using them. You're only using them if they work. And the reality is, George Bush has been an albatross around John McCain's neck, and we saw that in the polling. So it's obviously working, and that's it. Bill Ayers isn't working, but George Bush is.
Keep making my head hurt. Keep listening.
If it looks like a Bush, if it sounds like a Bush, if it votes like a Bush, it is a Bush economic philosophy. Look, just take a look at the facts. Just take a look at the facts. John McCain wants to continue the Bush tax cuts for the wealthiest of Americans. The very tax cuts are due to expire. They're due to expire in 2 years under the law. John not only wants to continue them permanently, John wants to double down on those tax cuts. He wants to add an additional, literally, $300 billion in tax cuts for America's largest corporations and the wealthiest individuals in America. Now, folks, these aren't bad folks. They're good people. But they're not the way in which we're going to revive this economy. We've tried this before. We've tried it for 8 years. We've been down this path before. Barack Obama and I have a fundamentally different idea. Let those tax cuts expire and instead provide substantial tax relief for the middle class.
Let the tax cuts expire, Marianne, is effectively a tax increase on everyone of more than $250,000. What part of history can you look at that says tax cuts work when an economy's going into recession?